Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with some NBA. We've got some action here on Monday, March 2nd. And returning triumphantly is one Chris Randone. Back to his rightful place here on the Early Bird Podcast for the Monday mornings. We've had a slew of guest hosts coming in on the carousel, but Chris, you're back. Happy to have you here. What's going on? You ready to dive back into the NBA? We still have 25 days until baseball kicks off. And I know you're a seam head like me. I love the baseball, but we got 25 more days. We have March Madness between now and then. We've got golf major between now and then. A lot of good stuff coming up.
It feels good, man. I was on the DL for a little bit, but it feels good to get back in action. Got a little load management for now until baseball season starts. But then, we're going to really hit it hard. But yeah, man, it feels good to be back. It feels right. It finally feels right to be back on the pod with you. So glad everyone held it down while I was gone.
This will be your first time doing the like we like to call it the crossover season, when you have baseball, you have basketball, you have NHL, you've got PGA, you've got NASCAR, you've got MMA, always omnipresent. You have tennis, but for those of us doing the big, I guess the big three, we'll call it the big four with hockey. Very, very busy time coming up here because March Madness thrown in the mix here, coming up in 2 weeks is just has that added flavor. So this is a good time to be a sports fan. You come out of the kind of the winter doldrums, and here we are. So reminder, we are brought to you by SuperDraft. So quickly, just to let you know, if you sign up for SuperDraft, it's superdraft.io. They do have an app, they have a website, it's all sorts of goodness. But if you use the promo code AWESEMO when you make your first deposit, if you put in $100, they will give you $20 in Super Cash, which is available for immediate use into any contest. You can't withdraw it, but that'll be the first money that comes out of your account when you join contests. And they've been running contests with the intent of having potentially overlay, but basically rake free. They've been sizing them appropriately, but we've had some Awesemo names up there near the top. It's a unique scoring system. There are no salary caps. It's all about the multiplier: 3 forwards, 3 guards, and a center. And then you get points based upon the multiplier works. So like someone like LeBron or Giannis Antetokounmpo, etc., has a 1 or a 1.05 multiplier, but then you get somebody like Zion with a 1.55, who's a good value. You get Damian Lee from Sunday, who has a 1.55 or 1.75, etc. They add 75% to Damian Lee's fantasy totals. 75%. So don't think of it like 1.05. That doesn't seem like a lot. That's 5%. On Sunday, LeBron was 1.15. That's 15%. I'd like to have LeBron's point total with the 15% kicker. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I would take that. Super draft, I'm kind of I've been doing a few lineups each day. I don't mind it. It's different. It definitely makes you think. I think it's nice because you can kind of leverage the tools that Awesemo provides and really understand kind of which real multiplier that's tied in with each guy. I mean, it really helps you understand a little bit more of how to play it. But it definitely what I like about it challenges your mind. So Super Draft, good job, man. It's got a nice little concept.
All right. As we are recording this, just so you know when we're recording it, Anthony Davis and Alex Caruso were both ruled out. So we will make sure to get this done in about 30 or 40 minutes so I can go change my lineups and adjust accordingly and get some more Lakers in. We figured on the show, Eddie and I thought it was 50-50 at best, probably even worse odds than that Anthony Davis was going to play, even though this was a game down in New Orleans. Second time he's returned as a Laker there, but he only played 25 minutes in Saturday. Losing track of days. Saturday's games, just 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. Now it's with a knee injury or a knee issue. He was dealing with shoulder, dealing with elbow, etc. Don't have to worry about him. They'll be getting in the second half of their back-to-backs. Teams that are on a back-to-back tonight, as we head into Monday, is going to be Milwaukee as well as Dallas. I believe those are the only teams that play. Just double checking that real quick, because the Chicago and the Knicks, that was the early Saturday game. So let's kick it off here. We'll go game by game, Chris. We've got about half of the projected point total over unders, Vegas odds, as some like to say, going. We've got Houston at New York. What do you want to do here? We've got Houston coming in as a 9.5-point road favorite. They lost a heartbreaker on Saturday. Pardon me. They won. They crushed the hearts, spirits, and minds of the Boston Celtics on Saturday night, despite Jaylen Brown's heroics getting them into overtime there. What do you want to do with James Harden and Russell Westbrook? At the 5-out offense, Russell Westbrook is averaging upwards of 30 drives a game. No one has seen this yet. We'll see how it plays out in the playoffs, but darn, this looks like a good matchup for the two stalwarts of the Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, a few studs at point guard tomorrow night, depending upon if Doncic plays or not. But typically what we've seen is just people kind of avoiding Westbrook. I mean, not only is he getting hate in real life, but I mean, he's not really getting the love lately in DFS as well, because people just want to pay down for kind of the same upside in Doncic and Trae Young, who, for Trae Young tomorrow, he's got a great matchup. But I don't mind Westbrook here, especially going into New York. It's probably not going to be the sexiest of point totals. New York doesn't really play much of a pace, but I mean, you can never just count him out, especially in scenarios where if you're playing GBP and he has low ownership, but he has that upside. I mean, it's just something that you can go with. Back-to-back 60-plus point games as far as fantasy perspective. But yeah, him and Harden, I don't mind at all. But outside of that, I think the other guy that I would probably focus on is Covington. Especially on FanDuel, where obviously blocks and steals just matter so much. But Covington has been a beast defensively. If you look back the last 6 games, he's had at least 3 blocks, and then he's averaged at least 1.5, 2 steals. So looking at it, I mean, four blocks, 4 blocks, 4 blocks, and then all threes. I mean, that's 3.5 blocks per game the last 6 games. That alone right there, I mean, really just kind of separates for his price point per dollar wise. And it's a good matchup for him down low. I'm going to have to say Covington would probably be the guy that I'm most interested here going into this game from the Houston side.
All right, that one seems pretty interesting. I'm going off the top of my head here. I didn't pull up his game logs, but I believe he had like 16 and 16 last night. 16
yeah,
points,
16, and then 3 blocks, 1 steal. I mean, obviously he's playing a ton of minutes too. He's a stretch force, so I mean, he can also shift to the 5 like when they need him to. And looking at kind of the presence of that front court for the Knicks, I mean, there's really not much there. And if Portis gets to start again, I mean, it's going to be just an easy matchup for him. And Randall doesn't really play much defense, so I like it. And 6,200 on FanDuel, man, it's kind of like he hasn't really shifted in price. So I could see him being somewhat owned tomorrow in that matchup.
All right, just double checking here, not to bury the lead. In the concussion protocol, Dennis Smith Jr. expected to miss this game, or almost assuredly, and we'll have to see what happens for him. Let's see, probably should spell Houston right. Houston, nobody of note dealing with any injuries. Eric Gordon was back. We'll have to see if he starts or comes off the bench, but they have a plethora of wings now. Let's hit our next game here. Again, you guys will get the DFS strategy show at 9:30 Monday morning. That is going to be Josh Engelman, and I believe it's Dave Loughran, Dave Laffy D. So you will have to enjoy that one. Josh has already made plans to pay off his mustache bet. That's going to happen Thursday. Chris, he's getting in touch with his manliness, I guess. He has booked himself a spot. So the bet was that the Philadelphia 76ers, so Laffy, Philly guy, huge Philly fan, would win more games than they lost on the road.
So that bet's over.
That bet is all but assuredly over. There is a 2% chance left. Let's put it this way. Sixers need to win. They can lose 1 for the rest of the season. Josh made this bet, told his wife about it, and his wife said, you realize we have, fill in the blank, my best friend's wedding in March. Are you going to have your facial hair growing back by then? And Josh said, I don't think so. I haven't shaved in years. Shaved everything off. He said, I don't think my wife realizes that it takes me 3 or 4 months to grow back what I have now. He said it's a long time. So he's going to pay this bet off early. But what he has done is he is going to a very nice barbershop where he lives down there in North Carolina. He is going to get some lavender towels, he says. The the whole facial treatment, etc. And he's going to ask them to shave everything off but the stash. So he is going to put that on Twitter. Yeah, he's going to put that on Twitter, but he is not going to unveil the mustache until Friday's DFS strategy show. So we have that to look forward to. The guy who ate 50, was it 50 or 100? I forget 100. Now. Pizza bites. The guy who did the Pocky one chip challenge. He shouldn't make bets, I think is the better way of saying things, and he'll be the first to tell you, but we'll have to check that out. So Friday is going to be a day to circle on our calendars, but you've got DFS strategy show going at 9:30. You have the deeper dive at 5. You got live before lock at 6, and of course NHL show as well with Jake Hari in the middle there. Moving on to our next game here, Chris. We have Portland at Orlando. No Damian Lillard for this one. Orlando has been looking solid recently, and they are favored by 7 at home. Does anything pop out for you in this
game? I think it's hard to just say, like, no, you shouldn't play CJ McCollum, because, I mean, the usage just is outrageous. And, I mean, he's just going to shoot a ton of shots. So, obviously looking at FanDuel price right now, because DraftKings pricing isn't listed yet. I mean, he's 8,800, which it hasn't changed really much since the last game. So the question is, where's his ownership going to be? I mean, it's really hard to kind of fade him knowing that he's typically like the Bradley Beal right now of the Trailblazers, considering his usage and what he's doing. So yeah, I guess, we can talk about that. And I'm going to go ahead and say I like him here. But I think really where else I want to focus is Whiteside's a little bit expensive. I'd rather pivot down to Vooch, who I think can really take advantage of this spot. He's 8,100. So I don't mind him there. Aaron Gordon is 7,400. He's just been on a rampage lately. Now, he obviously just had a dud against San Antonio, but this is a good situation for him in this spot. So I like Aaron Gordon. I kind of like the Orlando side of the ball, believe it or not, here in this matchup. As for anything else, I think Fournier for GBP is okay. But outside of that, Fultz, if you want to go ahead and maybe look at him in GBP format as well, he's 5,100. I don't mind him. He has shown here over the last few weeks that he can get 30, 35 fantasy points at times. And at 5,100, that definitely pays off that price point. So, but outside of that, man, I mean, CJ McCollum seems to be highly owned almost every slate as of late. So it's going to be interesting to see, once again, do people go there? If not, maybe I'll have a little bit more interest than I do originally.
All right. Yeah, that's going to be an intriguing one there. It looks like McCollum's going to be 93 on DK, 88 on FanDuel, as you mentioned, and then we're still waiting for Yahoo pricing to come out, since there is a robust 2-game Sunday slate and people are taking that day off here. Darn them. Hassan Whiteside, quite interesting in this one. We are paying nearly apex pricing for him, 96 on DK, 95 on FanDuel. So that's a bit of a stretch, but I do like the matchup here for Vooch. I think that is someone that we'll have to see where the early popularity comes in with, but at 8,400 DK, 8,100 on FanDuel, I suspect he will be somewhat of an interesting play. No major injuries outside of Damian Lillard that we really got to deal with there. But let's move on to our next one here. Utah at Cleveland. Yeah, not feeling inspired by this one. Goodness.
What?
We had a monster laid down by Andre Drummond, who seems to own Miles Turner regardless of what team he is playing for. Drummond played after missing 2 games, mysterious illness yet again, or illness, injury, etc., when he has to face Joel Embiid, but missed 2 games, came back with a strong 35.5 minutes, 27 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and a block, shot 57% from the field. Yikes, that is one heck of a number, but we'll have to see what happens here. He's the guy I probably like best in this game, going against Rudy Gobert, kind of a traditional battle of the bigs. What do you got for us in this less than exciting, at least for as far as the teams are concerned, less than exciting matchup?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a great thing. Drummond, came back from whatever it was. A lot of people were just not interested in that 7,300
bruised ego. I think it was a bruised ego.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can call it that, but he's still, no matter what, is a force down low when he does get the minutes. And I mean, he's 2,000 less almost than Whiteside. So knowing that they can put up kind of that same kind of ceiling, it's hard to not go here. These guys in the 7K range, Gobert, Valanciunas, and Drummond, I think I'll have interest in all of them, especially in the GPP format. This is a great spot for Gobert too at 7,800. The only thing that concerns me is that he hasn't really had that high upside game where he is just kind of flatlined in that 35, 38 point range. And that doesn't really win you tournaments. And in that case, you can pivot elsewhere to kind of get someone who is cheaper to hit that price point. So Gobert, does kind of scare me, but then I do like him because it is a good matchup for him. I think where I want to go is Donovan Mitchell. Cleveland struggles heavily against the shooting guard position, and he can excel here for sure. And with that said, I think Utah, is a team that can really dominate here. And if that's the case, I think Jordan Clarkson is definitely up for consideration. He's 5K. This is also kind of a little bit of a revenge narrative heading back to Cleveland. And but he's been a great force off the bench. And at $5,000, knowing that he can get in that 30-point fantasy range, probably won't garner a lot of ownership. Cleveland does struggle against guards, so I'm okay with that. And that's probably where, at a first look, is where I would look most in this matchup. Kevin Love is going to be cheap, but you have to ask yourself, if you want to pay that, I'm okay with it. I mean, he's 6,400. Not the best of matchups, but with Tristan out, it kind of seems like he gets a little bit more of a usage and a little bit more of an uptick in minutes. So both those big guys from Cleveland, I'm okay with in this situation.
All right. Just looking, yeah. So Thompson, sorry, I missed the lead on that one. Thompson out until midweek with a knee injury. Yeah. Darius Garland hurt his groin on. They played. Sorry, I've lost track of all days and the mini splits. I think they played Saturday. So
no, Garland's not hurt, is he?
Yeah, Garland's out with a groin injury.
Is he?
Yep. And then Dante Exum, hey, revenge! Yeah, he's not going to play till about the time March Madness starts off.
If Garland's out, I think we can go ahead and plug in Sexton here for definitely interest. Mike Conley is obviously not the same, and if both of those other guards are out, Sexton's already been getting a high usage of minutes, but you could definitely probably guarantee him at least 35, 37 minutes here in that matchup if that's the case. And at 5,500, and you're going to pay for 37 minutes, absolutely. He's someone who takes a lot of shots, ball handler, control the offense. So I'm okay with Sexton here at 5,500 if that's the case with Garland being injured.
And I think that's interesting. So here, courtesy of RotoWorld, it says it's unclear when Garland picked up his injury, but he is out. The day in advance report does not bode well. Colin Sexton and Kevin Porter Jr. will be busy in his absence. And they say we're likely to see Shetty Osman get more involved offensively. Yeah.
No. What's he going to do?
Yeah, maybe make a bucket. I don't know. The last time, though, I talked smack about Shetty, he dropped like 38 fantasy points. I said, don't play him under any circumstances. Thank you, Shetty.
Damn, so lock him in.
Let's see here. The fun with Rudy Gobert. Last 5 games against Andre Drummond. I actually had this saved as a query courtesy of StatMuse. 48, 59, 29, 42, and 34 fantasy points. Yes, those were all while Drummond was with Detroit, but we should see those behemoths in the paint against each other. So I'm okay with Rudy Gobert. He's kind of been exposed recently by some Houston that just says, yeah, we're going to run you off the court. Did you see? I don't know if you saw the game, but he was actually guarding Russell Westbrook. So they've kept him out. So fun note quickly to file away. For his last 3 matchups against Houston, I think he's averaged 35.3 minutes per game, but he's also averaging 6.4 shot attempts per game because he's not shooting. So he's out there on the court, but he's completely outside of his comfort zone. At one point, he was not even just one point. A chunk of the game, he was nominally assigned to Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook was driving at the hoop constantly, and normally the Stifle Tower has this way with that. But yeah, pretty uncomfortable. I mean, imagine Russell Westbrook is shooting like 25% from 3 this year, drawing Rudy Gobert out from the basket. It was just like a complete mismatch, and it's going to be trouble in the playoffs for those guys.
Hey,
But
EMac, I got a question.
sure,
Did you play OG and Anunoby tonight?
I did not, but I think he's laying down a
Dude,
monster based
listen
upon
to
what you're
this.
saying.
I just have to just chime in for a second because I was like, man, what this is I didn't expect this to be such a high scoring game. At the half, OG is 8 of 10 from the field, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 6 steals. He
Oh
got
my
6
god.
steals at the half.
Yeah, Eddie and I were
What?
kind of like, I didn't really want to play him against Denver. I didn't want really anybody. There's 4 teams or 4 games on the
Oh
slate
my
Sunday night.
God,
And I was
dude.
like, yeah, let's just skip that game. Oof. OG.
If you don't have, I mean, it's over. If you don't have him for,
Yeah.
say goodbye. Wow, 6 steals at the half.
I guess this is why they played the games, Chris.
Oh man. Oh wow.
Yikes.
Sorry, I just had to say. I was shocked. I was shocked. I just had to chime in.
Well, here's another shocking performance as we move on to our next game. It's Milwaukee in Miami. They are one of our 2 teams on a back-to-back. Milwaukee has Giannis Antetokounmpo, the, wait for it, reigning NBA MVP. He dropped 40, I should call up the box score real quick so I get it correct. He dropped 41 points, 20 rebounds, and 6 assists with a steal in 35 minutes. He is the fastest to ever have a 40, 20, and 5 game. He is also the youngest, besting Charles Barkley in that one. He was 17 of 28 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line. Yikes. Laid down a monster there. Chris Middleton was out. But of course, that remains to be seen what happens with him on Monday. What do you like against Milwaukee and Miami? Tough read here. 2 solid defensive teams. Milwaukee plays at one of the faster paces, but they are one of the best defenses in the league. And Miami, darn near invincible at home. At a first blush with all the games on the slate, do you like anything from this one?
I think this will be a glimpse of one of those second round games potentially in the playoffs, Milwaukee and Miami. But
The Heat are 25-4 at home. That is the second best. Milwaukee is 27-3 at home. The only team that has a better home record, and they're facing each other.
Yeah, honestly, this game is interesting from a fantasy perspective. I definitely like Giannis here on a 7-game slate. I think it's hard to kind of ignore him. I like Jimmy Butler as well at 8K. I think given that we're close to the playoffs, we're going to see a close game here. I don't know if there's going to be high scoring, but I think that there will be some great fantasy stats going on here. But when I look at this game, Giannis and Butler stand out the most. But also, I mean, the guards, man. I mean, what I like Dragic and Nunn. Both are still low priced, but I mean, they're heavily involved in the offense right now. And, for me, looking at Dragic, he doesn't really get a lot of ownership, but yet he's been very consistent. He's playing 30 plus minutes. He's scoring a majority of the time in the 30 fantasy point range. So in GPP format, I like to flirt around with these 2 guards, Nunn and Dragic. And then the one guy I want to focus on the most probably is Bam Bam. I think Bam Bam here is in a great spot. And for me, looking at kind of how they operate defensively, Brook Lopez, I don't think can guard up with Bam Bam. And so for me, either one of the Lopez brothers, I just really like Bam Bam in this spot here to excel. And I don't know if people will pay 8,800 for him here on a 7-game slate. Looking at kind of the power forward position, a lot of these top guys are all in the similar price range. So that tells me that ownership will kind of be spread out a little bit. And I could see Bam kind of going underlooked here. So for me in this position, I like Bam Bam a lot at the first look.
All right. Yeah, I'm just looking at the OG Anunoby. It looks like he's about on DK 3 to 5, depending on your contest, 3 to 5% on 43 fantasy points.
Dude, it's unreal.
Yikes.
It's just unreal. I did not expect that whatsoever.
Wow. All right. Well, sometimes that happens. Fortunately, while you may not be winning a tournament without him, min cash still in play. Not that that's anything more than a moral victory. Speaking of moral victories, Memphis and Atlanta squaring off here. We do have an over-under in this one. Do you want to take a guess at it, Chris?
This game, I'm going to say 237.
Oh, very close. 239 and a half.
Okay.
Wow, that is one of the higher ones we have seen in a while. You've got Memphis, who played on Saturday, knocking off the Lakers. You've got Atlanta, who also played on Saturday, going against Portland. This will be a 3-4 here for Atlanta. But yikes, Trae Young, very worthy of our attention. What do you want to do with this game?
I like this game a lot. And I think Ja Morant, even though he came up in price a little bit, given kind of where they're at right now, they need him on the floor more. If he's playing 30 plus minutes, the talent that he has, 6,900, I'm okay with. Love Trae Young too here at the guard position. I think he is underpriced a little bit at 9,900. I love the guard play here. Kevin Huerter, man, he's 5,000. And Memphis, as we know, does struggle against shooting guards. The kind of role that he has in this offense and knowing what he can do, he also is a facilitator with assists. So not only can he score, he can also drop some dimes. So I'm okay with Kevin Huerter here at 5,000. John Collins, I think 100%, 8,600, I'm okay with. And Valanciunas, which I think is the most interesting here. Atlanta struggles against the center position. Centers have done exceptionally well against Atlanta. Jonas is in a great spot here at 7,200. I like him a lot. Now, obviously, I like to see where the field thinks about him, because looking at the center position, Whiteside is just so out there that I don't really think that Whiteside will get as much love as what we've seen as of late. But I think Jonas in this game is probably my favorite fantasy option. And then outside of that, man, I mean, we can talk about Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, plug and play guys, not priorities. But outside of that, I'm not really seeing much else, but I will have a lot of ownership with those guys that I just discussed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jaren Jackson Jr. still out for another 2 weeks. Brandon Clark, same thing for Memphis. From Atlanta, we had...
Can we also talk about...
Cam Reddish left the game early with lower back pain. He's questionable. Dedmon out for another game. Skal Labissiere waiting to make his debut. DeAndre Benbury out. Clint Capella still out. Did you know that... I know you've been moving and such this weekend, but some rebounding totals here for Jonas Valanciunas. 45 rebounds in his last 2 games.
Yeah, and I mean, and look at who he's done it against too. I mean, weak center positions, in my opinion, Lakers and Sacramento, where he's gotten the best of both of them. So in positions where it's kind of a weak matchup, I mean, Harry Giles is nothing to really brag about as far as defensively, and McGee and Howard have struggled on and off this year as well. So he takes advantage of those spots, especially if you look at other games as well. So yeah, I think at his price point, I'm definitely okay with. But I did want to mention before we go to the next game, Ja Morant almost ended Anthony Davis's life. Just if you saw it, this kid is unreal when it comes to driving to the lane and trying to just yoke on anyone. So don't know if you saw it, EMac. You should go ahead and see the replay. But yeah, he almost ended Anthony Davis's life.
All right, good to know. Good to know. Basketball is so fun at this time of year because it's fun yet infuriating. You just get some crazy, crazy stuff going on as teams start to mail it in, put a big old stamp on the season. You get other teams playing for their playoff lives. You've got other teams figuring out what the rotations are going to be doing. This one, all over the place. We'll have to see what's going on a little bit here with the injury information, but at 239.5 over under, this is one that should be within our plans. The next one we have is one of our last 2, Dallas at Chicago. We had, oh God, why am I blank? Luka Doncic, goodness gracious, how can I forget his name? Was out on thumb injury, I believe it was, on Sunday. We'll have to see what happens on Monday. Dallas at Chicago feels like a winnable game. They were in Minnesota on Saturday, or probably Sunday. Good. They're doing this multiple shows, multiple days, and then crossing over, looking back and looking ahead while still trying to figure out the same results can be a pain in the bum. But I do want to say that the Mavericks did win by 20 without Doncic in Minnesota. Porzingis, 38 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and 5 blocks. Wow. Not quite Giannis Antetokounmpo, but pretty close. Seth, not Steph, Seth Curry, 27 points, 4 assists, and a steal. But the big number I'm seeing jumping out, Dorian Finney-Smith and Tim Hardaway Jr. respectively were plus, wait for it, Chris, plus 35 and plus 37 in this game. I do not remember seeing a plus minus that high. Granted, the team won by 20, but oh, good God, they owned Minnesota when those two were on the floor.
I mean, here's the
plus
thing,
37. I don't know that I've ever seen a plus 37.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Doncic didn't play, right? So, looking at it, by the way, Finney-Smith, man, 11 rebounds, but plus 35.
You can't play DFS without DFS.
Dude, I mean, Hernan Gomez was 12 and 12, but he was minus 24. That's just crazy. I mean, yeah, plus 30. I mean, these guys were definitely, I don't even know what to say about that. That's pretty wild. It's just crazy how everyone else, if you look at it, EMac, there's such a big separation outside of Hardaway Jr. and Finney-Smith. Yeah, it's just like, what the hell's going on?
Did they like put like some plywood over the rim while they were on the court, because or plexiglass so no one can see it? That's the only way I can think of that you would be plus 37 in a game. I'm sorry.
My favorite is Gilchrist and Boban both played like 2 minutes, +1 and +4 respectively.
Oh God, everybody was in the mix there. So let's I don't know, for fun, let's just say Doncic is out. Who would you like to go with? We're just speculating here, so not going too deep into this game because things will change dramatically if he's in.
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis, obviously, huge uptick in usage. And I mean, their offense revolves around him, and it's a really good matchup. I mean, he's probably going to destroy this front court of Chicago, to be honest with you. But outside of that, I mean, I guess we can give Seth Curry love given his price point and given the fact that if Doncic is out, he is fantasy worthy, given that Doncic is out. So I'm okay with that too. But outside of that, man, I guess some shares of Hardaway, some shares of Finney-Smith. I don't know, man. Like outside of that, though, I don't know if I'm like too high on this game. I'd rather go elsewhere. But I mean, if Doncic is out, I probably would lock in Porzingis for sure. And then on the Chicago side of the ball, if you want to, Kobe White's game time decision. So, but he's 6,200. Price is starting to creep, and I guess you can consider him. Satoransky, I'm okay with too, and then Thaddeus Young if you want to have like a few shares of him. But I don't know, man. I'm not too keen on much of the Chicago side. So Porzingis, though, if Doncic is out, we can go ahead and fire him up. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's just a completely different situation for him with Doncic off the floor.
Yeah, Kobe White, his last 4 games, reverse chronological order, 17, 21, 18, and 22. No, that's not points. That's field goal attempts. Points, yeah. NBA points are 22, 35, 33, 33. He's on a hot streak, and he has shot, I'm just kind of eyeballing it here, about 58% in those 4 games, 41, 62, 61, and 50%.
Yeah.
In those 4. So just know what you're getting into here. Price keeps ticking up just a little bit for him. That is not going to be an easy one for him to hit that number against the Mavs. But again, if things happen, this is why we play the games. This is like there's a nice free article series from Alex Baker, you know him as Osmo, on the Osmo website, talking about game selection, game theory, and then one of his big ones is play as many slates as you can, as many lineups as you can. And he says go down in buy-ins and do this, because that is how you combat variance. And if you have a better process, better projections, etc., this is how you maximize that advantage. If you're just playing only the main slates, and if we use DK as the example, if you're not playing the tiers contests, or if you're not playing the showdown slates, etc., you could be missing out. So, crazy stuff happens. Again, this is why they play the games. But if you try different things, different sports, etc., you can have different results. I've been playing NHL literally every day for almost a year now, and have had a nice steady-ish. It was 15% for a while. I'm now down to about 11% ROI, but I'll take it. Adam, Ship My Money Share, you guys know him. He's started dabbling in the NHL during the NBA All-Star break, and he's staying over there. He's now made it part of his daily routine to get into those contests. We were laughing on our Saturday strategy show. He's like, yeah, outside of the Washington Capitals, I don't know too many of the players, but I don't have any biases, and I'm doing this all via math. And we've got some fantastic tools here. You get Alex ranks each of the hockey lines with the A, B, C, D grade. You also get that based on value and based on points. We have the boom bust tool for NHL now. We've got that, of course, for NBA, baseball, and NFL. But he just launched that for NHL. Very helpful. Lets you know which lines have a better chance of going places. And then when you combine that with Fantasy Cruncher, you can definitely get your line stacking in, which is key. And for me, I love baseball. Love baseball. Hockey is, if you treat it kind of like baseball, a slight derivative there, but pitchers are like goalies. Line stacking is like stacking, the 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters.
So true.
It works out, and because I'm trusting the numbers, and our numbers have been pretty damn good, I'm getting a nice little bit of fun here, and I'm playing about $50 a day in hockey, but it's been very nice, and that can help even things out as we go along. So just throwing that out there. Let's see here. Our next game is our final game. Indiana at San Antonio. That's not that enticing of a late night hammer. We do not yet have a line. We're still waiting to find out what is going on with LaMarcus Aldridge, who has missed the last 2 games. Let me see. He's listed as doubtful, but expected to return midweek. So he's probably going to miss this one. Jakob Poeltl. Yeah, I know. I was with you guys. I had 50% of him on Saturday when he played about, 5 minutes or whatever it was. He is out until at least April. So, we don't wish ill will upon anyone, but yikes, that was a pretty serious injury. If you look at the Indiana side here, the key question is, what is Victor Oladipo going to be doing? They really have everybody healthy now. But everybody healthy means, and that includes Edmund Sumner, everybody healthy means everybody's nibbling a little bit from everybody else's production. Not really excited from anybody on either side here. Perhaps DeMar DeRozan, but the Pacers are a solid team. He'll have to be dealing with probably, I would guess, Malcolm Brogdon. Do you like anything from our late night ham?
I do like Malcolm Brogdon. Guards have kind of tore up this San Antonio defense this year. And, he's going to be probably one of the most consistent guys in this offense that you don't really have to worry about someone taking away from him. Probably going to play 35, 36 minutes. And it's just a good matchup for him. So his price point is still at that level where you can feel okay. And he has that upside. Oladipo, though, I'm not sold on it yet. Even though this last game was definitely kind of one of those games to give you confidence. He even said it himself. He isn't 100% yet, but if he is starting to feel 100%,
he missed a year with a ruptured quad or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like that?
So if he still has to get into a rhythm and still just feel comfortable knowing that he had a significant injury, that's a mental thing too. But did showcase his shot this last game against Cleveland, and he's 5,400 on FanDuel. I don't mind if you want to go there a little bit, but I wouldn't be too heavily invested. I'd rather pivot down to Clarkson or Kevin Hutter in that situation. But other than that, man, Sabonis is always a guy that I'm okay with, and no one's going to be able to guard him on the San Antonio side. So DeRozan, though, I'm going to go ahead and say no in this situation. I'd rather pay up a little bit for Mitchell or Butler. But outside of that, man, I'm staying away from pretty much everything else. I'm not interested in Lyles, even though he just came off a really good game and he's cheap. And then Sumner, I'm not going at all. And Miles Turner, maybe a couple shares, but not heavily invested. But Malcolm Brogdon, I'd really like the most in this matchup.
All right, that makes sense. And that also gets us to the end of our show. Reminder, you do get... let me look up the calendar here, and I'm going to have to hit the cough button because I'm going to cough. Sorry, too much talking here, guys. Too much talking. Let me look at the...
Oh, that was great.
Did my cough button work? I've had issues with my mute button here.
No, that's why I said it was great. It worked. It didn't work.
Oh boy.
Nah, I'm just kidding, man. It worked.
Oh good. I've switched this over to the Zoom platform because I was having so much issues with Appear In, which is the other one that I used to use. But my mic apparently was not responding well to that platform anymore because the sound was completely out of balance no matter what I did. And then additionally, it was also not, the mute button was not working. But that bought me enough time to say on Monday, March 2nd, it will be Laffy and Josh at 9:30. You get the DFS strategy show talking NBA. At 3 o'clock, you get Sal Vetri, Jeff Ulrich, and Ben Raza. Ben's back from his big live finals weekend, but you get those guys talking PGA first look at 3 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, you get Jake and Nolan breaking down the NHL show. And then if you're a premium subscriber behind the paywall, you get Osimo, Alex Baker, doing his early lineup builds, discussing what he's doing with this player pool, and looking at the different sites. Very, very valuable stuff there. That, again, is a premium only feature. And then 5 o'clock, you get Laffy and Adam on the deep dive, and then Josh and Spags closing things out on the deeper dive, or pardon me, the live before lock, heading in for a Monday. Yikes, we got a lot going on here, Chris.
A lot of good things though, man. A lot of good things. You know, it's a nice little slate, kind of a couple stars, but I don't really see at a first look, I don't really see too much value going on. Probably gonna have to wait till tomorrow, see what opens up. But yeah, 7-game slate. A lot of great sports going on right now, and I'm excited, EMac, because it's March, and that means baseball's right around the corner, and we could start. Oh man, we're gonna have a great season this year.
I'm so looking forward to it. By the way, SuperDraft does have MLB. Now, I have not looked at it yet, so I'm not. We'll have to see how the multipliers work with that, but it should be a lot of fun.
Oh my God.
Baseball, near and dear to my heart. My favorite by far of any of the fantasy sports. This, I believe, is going to be year 30 or 31 for me for playing fantasy baseball. So
Year what?
30 or 31. My first year was 1990, the spring of 1990.
30 years of playing fantasy baseball?
Yeah. Are you 30 yet? Do I even want to know the answer to this question?
EMac,
I am your old pal.
Yo, you really are the old pal. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like when Dan Strafford and I do baseball podcasts together, we get some people saying, "Oh, why isn't Adam on this show? Why is it so?" It's like, by the way, Strafford and I have over 50, not 50 years of fantasy baseball experience. We got you guys covered. Not to fear. That is, I think, our best sport by far. Our talent level, it runs very, very deep at Osmo here.
That's my best sport too.
It's a good time. It's a good time. All right, gamers. With that, you can follow Chris on Twitter at Chris Randone. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Osmo_COM. Check out the pinned tweet on Osmo_COM and find out how you can win a daily drawing by rating, liking, and reviewing our podcasts. With that, gamers, good luck.